how do you cope with OCD without giving in to compulsions? Whether those compulsions are physical or mental. Because for most people, the hardest part about OCD isn't the intrusive thoughts, it's the feeling that you cannot risk not doing the compulsions because you fear what will happen if you don't. So you keep responding, you keep trying to feel safe. And over time, OCD gets stronger. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through 5 key psychological skills that can help you cope with OCD. And they're skills that I teach my clients in therapy. Coping with OCD in the long term means breaking the OCD cycle. An intrusive thought or obsessional thought shows up, anxiety spikes, the urge to do a compulsion hits, and the compulsion brings very temporary relief, which teaches your brain to repeat it over time. Recovery is about responding differently to the intrusive thoughts, to the anxiety and discomfort, and the urges to do the compulsions, even when every fibre of your being wants to do that. And that is the challenge. So the first skill that I want to talk you through is learning how to let difficult feelings just be there, what we often call acceptance. And I know that word can be off-putting. It can sound vague, passive, or like you're being told to just put up with it. But that is not what I mean here. I'm talking about a very practical skill that, when people learn it properly, often makes a real difference to how manageable OCD can be. So the first skill is learning to let difficult feelings be there. And a really helpful way to understand this is to think about it in terms of a Chinese finger trap. If you've ever used one, you will know that the harder you pull your fingers to try and get out, the tighter the Chinese finger trap becomes around your fingers, the more stuck you become. And the instinct is to kind of tense and fight it and really try and pull your fingers away from each other. But that only makes the Chinese finger trap tighter. In fact, the way out is the opposite. You stop pulling, you loosen your grip, and that creates a bit of wriggle room so that you can get your fingers out. Acceptance works in a very similar way in OCD. When anxiety, uncertainty, doubt, discomfort all show up, the instinct is to get away from those feelings as fast as you can, to pull away from them, to fix, to neutralise, analyse, make it stop. And the more you do that, the more stuck you become in that OCD cycle. Acceptance means doing the opposite. It means being present with what's there and opening up to it, rather than fighting it. In practice, this usually looks like noticing what is actually showing up for you. This is anxiety. This is doubt. I'm noticing discomfort, and choosing not to respond by going into a compulsive act. If your compulsion is physical and something that you can see, this might mean leaving something unchecked or not washing, even though that feels really uncomfortable. If your compulsion is mainly mental, it might mean letting a doubt just be there in your mind without analysing it or trying to feel certain. So you're not struggling with those internal feelings and thoughts, you're loosening your grip. And you're not doing this so that those feelings disappear, you're doing it so that your brain can learn that those experiences can be experienced without needing to do anything with them or about them. You can learn to tolerate that discomfort. And over time, that is what starts to loosen OCD's hold. Now, up next is unhooking. Alongside acceptance is learning how to relate differently to your thoughts. OCD thoughts are often loud, convincing, and urgent. They don't feel like just thoughts. They feel like warnings and commands. Unhooking means noticing when a thought has shown up and choosing not to engage with it. I often compare this to scrolling on social media. You see a post. It might be upsetting or provocative, but you don't have to click on it. You don't have to comment or save or share or like. And you certainly don't need to spend 20 minutes analysing it. You can choose to just scroll past. And that is what you can do with OCD, intrusive and obsessive thoughts. And don't confuse that with distraction, because that really doesn't help. You notice a thought has shown up, you recognize that it's OCD doing what OCD does, and you choose not to get pulled into it. So, for example, Lily experiences taboo OCD. And she has intrusive thoughts like, what if I say or do something really racist? She avoids social media because she really fears inadvertently putting a racist comment on someone's post. So unhooking for Lily would be being able to notice and acknowledge when she has the thought, have I put a comment on someone's social media that's racist? Acknowledging that this is just OCD, or naming it as an intrusive thought or a doubt, and then shifting her attention to something else, something in the here and now, using her 5 senses to ground herself, to get herself back into her body rather than being caught up in all the thoughts. So in doing that, she's not then mentally reviewing her memories to see, what did she actually do when she went on that person's post? And she's not asking for reassurance to just check with someone, did I comment on that person's post? She is simply choosing not to engage with it, even though that thought has made her feel very anxious, very uncertain and guilty, and from it experiences those urges to do those compulsions. She can then use unhooking to also notice and name the urges to do those compulsions. I'm noticing the urge to go over my memories. Now, you may be thinking, this just seems impossible. And I really do get it. When you're in the thick of OCD, it is really hard to see a way through and to see how things could be different. But changing your relationship to OCD, especially OCD thoughts and urges, helps you break free from it. It's just about learning how to do that and then practicing it over and over again. Now, I fully accept that these skills that I'm talking about in this video are hard to learn and hard to practice when you're on your own, even when you're in therapy, because let's face it, your therapist isn't going to follow you around and make sure that you follow the strategies correctly. And that's why in my membership, I've created a set of guided audios, and they're to help you in those moments, particularly when OCD is spiking. And I've done one for each of the skills, and they're designed to help you practice them in real time. Now, if you think that that kind of guidance would help you, then the link is below. And what I love about the YouTube membership is that you can dip in and out. There's no long-term commitments. Okay, so the next skill is one of my favorites, urge surfing. Urge surfing is a great skill to have for reducing compulsions, whether they're physical or happening in your head. And it's something that I talk a lot about when I'm doing ERP with clients. So the urges to do compulsions can feel really overwhelming. They feel so strong that OCD convinces you you have got to do this action right now. And OCD will present that as the only way to get relief. But the key thing is you do not need to act on that urge. OCD says you do, but you don't. This skill is called urge surfing because it's really helpful to think about urges like a wave. As the wave rises, it builds, it peaks, and then it falls. So what usually happens is that urge will build, and the discomfort gets stronger and stronger until it all reaches a peak. And usually once it reaches a peak, that's when you will act on the compulsion. That's when you'll do it. And then all those feelings that you're experiencing gently die down. And what your brain learns there is that the only way to manage those really strong feelings is to do the compulsion. But if you can stay with the urge without acting on it, something different happens. Your brain learns that urges are intense but temporary, and that they pass on their own, just like waves do. So urge surfing doesn't mean distracting yourself until it goes away, and it doesn't mean trying to talk yourself out of it. It means noticing the urge, staying with it, letting it rise and fall on its own as you keep choosing not to do the compulsion. And this applies just as much to mental compulsions as well as physical ones. If the urge is to mentally review or to check your feelings or to try and overanalyze and work something out until you feel certain. The practice is the same, and that is how urges lose their power over time. Next up, I'm talking self-compassion. So another skill that matters when you're trying to cope with OCD is how you treat yourself. Coping with OCD is really hard because you're having to repeatedly choose discomfort over that short-term relief. And that takes real effort. Now, if your inner voice is harsh or critical, it's not motivating you in a helpful way. It adds a sense of threat, and that makes it much harder to keep going. Associate Professor and researcher Kristen Neff breaks down self-compassion into 3 really key components: self-kindness instead of judgment, common humanity instead of it's just me, and mindfulness instead of getting swept away by emotions. So in an OCD context, that might mean really noticing that this is a painful and distressing moment without criticizing yourself. You respond in a steadier, kinder voice towards yourself. And you remember that struggling with OCD and trying to resist compulsions is really, really tough. So self-compassion here sounds less like positive thinking and more like a supportive coach. This is difficult, but I can stay with it. I don't need to rush. I'm practicing something hard on purpose. So you're still not doing the compulsion. You are supporting yourself through that difficult experience and supporting yourself through that urge, the obsessive and intrusive thoughts, the emotions that come along with that, instead of, beating yourself up for even having OCD in the first place. And that makes a real difference to how sustainable recovery from OCD is over the long term. And again, as I said, I have got specific listen when audios in my membership to help you with this. So finally, the last skill is all about values. Values help guide you when fear is really loud, as it often is in OCD. Values are about how you want to live, not how you want to feel. They help answer the question, what do I want to stand for in this moment as I'm experiencing OCD? So here's an example. Imagine Jeff, who struggles with symmetry and ordering OCD. He'll spend ages lining things up and making sure that everything in his house is in its place. And he does that until every object around him feels just right. If he tries to stop, he gets a really sharp sense of discomfort and a nagging feeling that something is really wrong. And the obvious pull is to keep fixing the objects until it feels okay. Values give Jeff a different anchor. Instead of following the urge to check and recheck that everything's in its place, he asks himself, what do I want to be about right now? If what's important to him is being present with his kids, that might mean leaving the cushion crooked and going and playing with his children. If what's important to him is freedom and time, it might mean noticing the urge to reorder everything on his desk and choosing to start the task that he actually wants to do, even while the discomfort is there. So the anxiety or the uncertainty or the doubt doesn't instantaneously disappear, and that not right feeling might hang around for a while. But values, or what's really deep down important to him, gives him a direction to move in that isn't dictated by OCD. So hopefully what you've taken from this video is that managing or coping with OCD without giving in to compulsions isn't about willpower or being tough. It's about learning how to allow difficult feelings, unhook from thoughts, ride out those urges, support yourself through discomfort, and keep choosing actions that line up with what's truly important to you. These are all skills. They take practice, they can be learned, and they do really help in OCD recovery. Don't forget to check out the membership. I'll link it in the description below, and I'll see you in the next video.